This is the Liz Harrison Show.
Good afternoon, I'm Liz Harrison. This is the Liz Harrison Radio Show. Thank you for listening to Vigilant Liberty Radio. If you're catching this on K98Talk.com, thanks for listening there. It's been a rough week. A little bit crazy. Start out with the State of the Union. End with dead leader in Saudi Arabia. I promised that I would talk about that, but before that, the State of the Union, the president decided that it was such a great idea to go and talk to YouTubers. The viral media type people, instead of the reporters. Turned into a 48-minute show. No, I haven't watched it all yet. Have seen bits and pieces just like I guess most other people have on the news. Yes, I will go and watch it all and probably snag appropriate audio at some point. Because I have no doubt there is some. But everybody gets upset about the concept of the president talking to these people in the first place. And I'm thinking, no. Well, yes, you should be upset. No, you're not upset for the right reasons, more likely than not. If you're saying that he should be talking to people who are more substantial, no, that's not his goal. He's trying to reach the younger voters. He's going to succeed. He is reaching out to get his message to an audience that normally would not hear him because they're too busy watching these YouTubers. So what does that mean for Republicans? Honestly, they need to get to know the college humor. I want to see Ted Cruz on there. I want to see if Ted Cruz could manage to get himself on that program. For that matter, Rand Paul. I'm no huge fan of either one. Note, I'm not saying Romney. I'm not saying Jeb Bush. Rush Limbaugh made the observation Jeb Bush could team up with Hillary Clinton and you wouldn't know the difference. He's absolutely right. So I don't give a damn if Jeb Bush is on the primary ticket. Just say no to Bush. We've had enough. Thank you. We don't need this legacy. Maybe next generation after, we can talk. Well, probably won't be me talking, but hey, what are you going to do? But this brings up an important point. We had a relatively young president. And now we have a pile of relatively old potential replacements. That's an issue. I was making the observation yesterday. Can someone please introduce an amendment? Can we put a cap on the ages? I understand you want to have a minimum age because you don't want someone who's not mature enough. But there needs to be a break point, folks. There really does. Seriously, if you are old enough to have certain states say, every so often you have to go back and get your driver's license test over again, to make sure that you're still capable of driving. Yeah, maybe, or at least get checked out by a doctor for that purpose. Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be in office. Feinstein, well, she's leaving, Boxer is. Feinstein should be. Feinstein should be leaving. Hillary probably shouldn't even be considering running. I was never a fan of McCain running, so don't sit there and call me a hypocrite. So, I mean, we've already proven that with age, that doesn't necessarily mean wisdom. Case in point, McCain. So, Yeah, we need to talk to the younger generation because, well, they're going to be the ones voting when we don't have the baby boomers anymore. And bluntly, the level of apathy that we see in young people who don't realize, because they're dependent on their nice little electronic devices and everything, but how much do you want to bet they have no idea what's going on with net neutrality? Do they have any idea that it's going to cost them more money if the government is deeply involved? Yeah, the cable companies are starting to advertise that, so maybe they'll start picking up on it. But they're going to be hopelessly confused, more likely than not. Yeah, that's a problem. We're not messaging to the right people. And we're not messaging the right things either. Yeah, we're really not. I talked about this briefly last night because we were on the air with Jason Pye from FreedomWorks. This isn't his wheelhouse, and is arguably an issue that he stays away from. But I was mentioning that there are congressional issues going on. The Democrats are throwing temper tantrums. This is not to be confused with the Republicans throwing temper tantrums before that. And more importantly, a lot of social conservative groups. I have a problem. Because where I stand personally is my business on the issue of abortion. I'm sorry, but this is a standpoint that I've actually carried on from beginning through the time that I had to deal with liberals on a regular basis in the ivory tower. I think that both sides are wrong, at least the radical ends of it. Because on one end, you invariably get into an area where you're trying to push your moral belief system, regardless of its base, onto other people. And that is a very dangerous territory to be in. Because it's arguably legislating religion, but of course the old adage is you can't legislate morality, and that's true. You outlaw certain things, it will still happen. Don't kid yourself. It just will have it's more likely there will be bad results. Now, the whole banning abortion post 20 week, I can't stick with it. I can stick with what Wendy Davis was going up against in Texas, because that had to do with protecting the safety of women. If the clinics can't have legitimate doctors with privileges, they are doing it wrong, and they're putting their patients in danger. That's a fact. If they can't have the basic standards that you should have in any medical office, they're doing it wrong. So, and there's no reason why they shouldn't be subject to inspection just like any other medical office. That needed to happen. But this, I would like to see a bill where instead of flat out banning it, because I know that people are still going to do it, which I know that there are going to be people who will push back and say the woman doesn't need to know this. Yes, she does, because it's a scientific fact. The science is backing this in theory. If they're honestly telling the truth that a fetus feels pain at that point, then the woman needs to know that. She shouldn't be able to get an abortion without knowing that she is going to inflict a massive amount of pain. If she can still go and do it with a clear conscience after that, then she needs to meet with her own conscience and whatever there may be in the afterlife as far as she's concerned. But you can't fix everyone. You can't save everyone. That's not your job. They passed the bill that should have happened. No, the state money should not go for it. There are a lot of individuals that are morally opposed to it. They should not be forced to pay for it. And I've said repeatedly, the Democrats and the liberals, they claim there's so much support for all of this. Well, put a check mark on the tax forms, folks. I want to see that law. Because previously, when we were on paper primarily, that would have been a nightmare. Now that we're in the wonderful world of e-filing, and it's actually difficult to file on paper, this should not be hard. I mean, yes, it's saying that you're supposed to trust the government. But imagine the nightmare for whatever administration would be sitting in power, whatever Democrat administration, because this would not happen under a Republican, or at least I'd assume it wouldn't. If people in the government took money from taxpayers that had not authorized it and used it to pay for abortions. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Ask the people. They keep claiming that the people want to pay for this. Put it as a check mark. Do you want to pay for birth control? Do you want to pay for abortion? Yes or no? And if that's the case, then whatever taxes you have owed to the government can be applied to that. Let's see how much support they really have when it comes down to people spending the dollars. And they don't have to say it publicly because tax forms are arguably private. I know we have some issue with that too because of the IRS being, well, opposed to conservatives and not above sharing forms with politicians. But we're talking about organizations there primarily and their leaders, so maybe we'll see reform there. I want to see real reform. That's my problem, which of course we're not seeing. We're seeing a bunch of garbage. And yeah, I think that brings me sort of for a moment to the other thing. The Dems are throwing a temper tantrum because of Keystone XL. They aren't allowed to go and talk about all of the amendments that they want to. Never mind the fact that Harry Reid didn't let Republicans talk about any. I think they better be happy. But basically, they're going to the public with this. They are trying to put it in terms that the public will understand. So what does that mean? Republicans, yoo-hoo, you need to start showing something that makes it possible for the public to understand that this is crap that didn't happen under Harry Reid. We weren't able to talk at all. We weren't able to debate at all. I said this from the beginning. Pass more bills. Make the president use the veto pen. And whatever bills that you pass, don't pass stupid stuff. Pass things that the people are smart enough to realize, or it would be easy to teach them, that it will help them. Pass something that will help to take the teeth out of the EPA. It's winter time. Heating bills, electric bills, of course it will go, it will be useful in the summer too, because electric bills will go up. And where's the majority of our electricity coming from? Coal-fired plants. What industry is he trying to kill? The coal industry. So the people are going to feel it in their pocketbooks when it comes to their power bills. They'll understand that. That is a kitchen table issue. They can't put a steak on the table because they have to pay the electric bill. No-brainers. So, you need to start doing stuff that is actually useful. Take the teeth out of the EPA. Translate net neutrality and show how this administration just wants to be half a step away from China. Scare the hell out of them. I mean, really. Because while right now they agree What happens if they don't? They'll get shut down. Or worse. Because, that is where it's headed, don't you know? I mean, it's not just about the money and everything. It's also about the content. Or at least that's where it's headed. And I'm a cynic. That's why I assume that. Anyway. Yeah, we need to learn to control the narrative and don't let them control the narrative for us anymore. We've been saying this for a long time. And we've got to stop thinking that the establishment government and the establishment party have a bloody freaking clue what the hell is going on and actually still have control over anything. I mean, really. Why is Romney being the head of the pack at the moment? The establishment wasn't real happy with the idea of him deciding to run at all. That's not to say that I think it's a good idea. It's just pointing out what I'm saying, which is that the establishment party is doing us no good. We need to smack them down. Anyway. Back to Saudi Arabia for a moment. The oil prices went up a bit. It's not going to be meaningful. They're not sure. The market's not sure if he's going to, the new king of Saudi Arabia is going to follow through, King Saud. So, or King Salman. Anyway, the nation's successor pledges to uphold his policies, which basically means don't expect any reforms and expect Saudi Arabia to keep flooding the market with oil in the hope of shutting down U.S. oil production by pricing them out of the market. So what should the administration be doing? We made a raw deal with this nation a long time ago. Should have gotten rid of it. Didn't happen. Don't think this administration has the cojones to do that. So what should this administration do? This administration, because it really doesn't know how to do anything, should probably do nothing. We are a nation on hold until 2017. And even then, we may still be on hold if the Republicans are stupid enough to not win the election by putting up a candidate that just isn't useful. So hold on, folks. And I'm not saying this in light of Hillary or anybody else the Dems might put up. No, I'm putting this purely on the heads of the Republicans. See, I'm still waiting. I'm in my 40s. I have yet to vote for a president. Never have. I have never voted for a president. I have cast ballots on the presidency. But I have never been enthusiastic about who I cast a ballot for. It was never really for them. It was always lesser of two evils or mitigate the damage. Think about that. And that, I'm not weird in that sense. There are a lot of people that feel that way. It costs too damn much money, so that negates a lot of people from ever running. You have to come up with way too much money to run. And you face way too much scrutiny, so it takes a special kind of crazy to run. I can't fix the scrutiny part. I wish I could fix the financing part. I know, election reform. But we're not going to see it. As for Saudi Arabia, cross your fingers, hope that the administration does not try to do anything. because it's not going to end well. Because they have no idea how to deal with the Saudi Arabia. They didn't under King Abdullah. They won't under King Salman. Not going to happen. And not that they would, have any idea what to do, because, theoretically, feminists could be leading on policy on this. They really could. At least to a certain extent, if we were holding the high ground, which we're not. But they don't think that women exist in the Islamic world, and they don't think that oppression exists in the Islamic world, because they are the ones who are oppressed here in the U.S. because they have to pay for birth control. Just saying. And they're living with a rape culture. Me. Anyway, onward and upward, or downward, Yemen. No leadership. And we don't have any allies in that nation now. Our allies were the leaders. They're gone. Life sucks. And again, what should the administration do? I hope they don't do anything. Excuse me. Sorry, this is so sad. See, we've been here before. I'd say to ask Ambassador Stevens how it works, but he's no longer with us. We've been here before. I'd ask the Iraqi government, but they pretty much got their hands full with ISIS. We've been here before. I'd say talk to Syria, but they've got their hands full with ISIS too, and, well, Assad isn't being as useful as anybody thought he might be. Looking at you, Russia. So, yeah, it's a big nightmare. Huge nightmare. But at least, we're not the only ones screwing things up back to Russia and Assad. So, yeah, even Putin's screwing this up a bit. I'd say to go ask Egypt. But the leader there isn't really friends with the U.S., but go figure, he's the only one who's sitting there actually talking out meaningfully about reform within Islam to possibly put an end to radicalism. Go figure on that too. Yeah, this administration backed the wrong pony. So, cross your fingers, folks. Hope that Obama gets hopelessly overwhelmed, panics, and decides that he has no bloody clue what to do, so he'll do nothing. This is the one time where you really want him to do what he had been doing before, the whole leading from behind thing. Waiting for everybody else to act and then step up. Because I'll tell you right now, the European Union, they're not going to step into this. They're not. They're not in a position to do so. Financially or otherwise. They don't want more craziness in their own nations. They don't want more shootings in magazine offices. They don't want more terror cells. So they're going to stay the hell out of the whole situation in Yemen. They're going to let them figure it out on their own. And the only way that they're going to step in is if it starts getting to the point where Yemen starts exporting too many terrorists. That's it. Then they might do something. But the something that they do, more likely than not, is going to have more to do with getting people from Yemen off their own soil than it is going to Yemen and actually doing anything, if that makes sense. I hope it does, because it's probably the safest course. Of course, Joe Biden is going to the funeral, or whatever it is that's going on in Saudi Arabia. So, be on standby. I hope that it doesn't end like most Biden situations do. We don't need to make fools of ourselves more than we already have. That would be bad. Oh my. Yeah, Joe Biden is a laugh a minute until you let him go in the Middle East. This was not a good idea, by the way. Of course, I'm not sure who the heck they could have sent. You certainly don't want to send Obama. You certainly don't want to send Lurch, John Kerry. You definitely don't want to send any women. Gotta love it. So hold on tight and hope that it doesn't end absolutely horribly. It will end badly, no matter what. Just hope that it's not extremely detrimental. Anyway. I was saying that Romney was pulling ahead for the moment. I'm wondering, is that so much because of him throwing his hat in the ring at all? Or is it because of people having buyer's remorse again? Really? I don't know. I really don't. I have no bloody clue. I love and hate polls. Number one, there is the basic rule. Theoretically, you can have a poll tell you whatever the heck you want. It's all about how you frame the questions and how you choose your sample. Which is, by the way, why Romney didn't do so well. Why they weren't addressing issues with his campaign. Because the polling that they were paying attention to wasn't good. As in, it was inaccurate. It was echo chamber nonsense. This time around, it's probably a little buyer's remorse. That's not a good reason to elect someone. That's not a good reason to have him be a frontrunner. And bluntly, we need fresh blood. But hey, what could I say? It's the bottom of the hour. And I am not going to talk about this depressing crap when we come back. I'm going to talk about crazy crap that turns up on the international media over a simple personal blog post. File it under, are we really this sad, bored, whatever you want to call it. The nature of going viral in a very bad way. We'll be right back.
This is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 23rd. Saudi Arabia's King Salman Abdullah passed away Friday at the age of 90. Abdullah ruled the nation since 2006, but had essentially ruled since his predecessor, King Fahd, had a stroke. King Abdullah's half-brother Merquin has been named Crown Prince and heir. The new king is 79 years old and was formerly defense minister and governor of Riyadh. A British judge has denied a request that suspected child rapist Tobias Bowen be extradited to the United States. In 2010, Bowen was arrested and charged with 2 counts of child rape and could face a lengthy prison term if returned to the U.S. After being released on bail, Bowen fled to Africa and was eventually recaptured when he traveled from Holland to Britain in April of last year. His case has been making its way through the UK legal system since that time. The U.S. has an extradition treaty with the United Kingdom, and the U.S. has honored all of the UK's extradition requests. The UK, however, has denied 10 U.S. requests for extradition. UK magistrates ruled Bowen's right to liberty and security under the European Conventions of Human Rights would be threatened if he was extradited, and District Judge Margaret Rose said Bowen's right to liberty and security would be at risk if he returned to New York and faced an indefinite prison sentence. Bowen was remanded in custody until the U.S. authorities were contacted, but Judge Rose said he could be bailed out with a surety of £10,000. New York Democrat Sheldon Silver, Speaker of the State Assembly, has been accused of 5 counts of corruption by federal prosecutors, in the form of accepting kickbacks and bribes disguised as legitimate income. Silver has been Speaker of the Assembly since 1994 and is described as being one of the 3 men in a room with Governor Andrew Cuomo and Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos, who negotiate what happens in the state of New York. Charges against Silver were read at a press conference Thursday, and there have been calls for him to resign. However, Silver denies any wrongdoing, and Assembly Democrats, including Majority Leader Joe Morelli, are standing by him. And 2 days before the premiere of American Sniper, star Bradley Cooper made a special appearance at the Brooke Army Medical Center in San Antonio, Texas, for a preview of the film. Some 260 service members and staff, as well as Chris Kyle's father Wayne, watched the screening in the hospital's auditorium. While the staff was viewing the movie, Cooper was in the Institute of Surgical Research and Burn Center Rehabilitation Gym and was handing out signed movie posters and T-shirts to wounded warriors and hospital staffers. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 23rd.
Hi, this is Jason Dibbler, co-host of Q with a View, heard every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on FTR Radio. Right now, FTR needs your help in making the jump into the 21st century through some long-needed equipment upgrades. This is where you, the great and loyal listeners of Great Conservative Talk Radio, can really lend a hand. Visit GoFundMe.com/helpupgradeFTR right now. Your assistance, no matter how small, will help to ensure that FTR can continue to offer some of the best conservative radio on the interwebs. Your donation of $50 gets you up to 60 seconds of airtime on FTR Radio 4 times. For $100, your ad will run 10 times, or if you don't want to run an ad, you can have 30 minutes of FTR airtime to talk about anything you want. There are other thank yous for other levels of giving as well, but those are some pretty great offers. We hope you'll consider making a small donation to help keep quality conservative talk radio alive and thriving on the internet. Visit GoFundMe.com/helpupgradeFTR today. Thank you.
Hi, this is Steve Hamilton, Station Director at AltCon Radio, and that sultry voice you're listening to is Liz Harrison on The Liz Harrison Show.
And we're back. Filed under, are we really this stupid? Sometimes I have to sit back and laugh. I really do. A woman, Mrs. Partridge, she decided that she was going to have a meaningful conversation with her husband about her fashion choices and she wrote about it on her personal blog. Unfortunately, instead of getting a small audience like she normally would, she ended up going viral. Why? Because she said, thanks to her husband's input, that she was going to refrain from wearing leggings and yoga pants in public. She would only wear them in the home. And this was to prevent men from being tempted to look at her lustfully, particularly married men, single men too, but yeah. She was uncomfortable with the concept of married men looking at her that way because, well, it was contrary to her beliefs, and bluntly, maybe she's one of those women who really doesn't like that. Okay. Now, in the entire text of this post, she made absolutely no mention of anyone but herself. Eventually, she apparently added a disclaimer to the top, saying that she did not wish to suggest that this course of action was for anyone other than herself. She is not trying to tell anybody what to do. But of course, the internet being what it is, there is a pile of hatred out there. You know, because women want to be able to wear their leggings in public if they want. Okay, that's fine. She didn't tell you not to. And her husband, she and her husband are arguably very religious, so therefore their choices are affected by their beliefs. Not everybody else is like that. But it went international. Like so many questionable things do. You know, because this isn't a questionable situation per se. But arguing about something that a woman straight out says is her choice. And she's not trying to tell anybody else to do what she's doing. And she says outright, because she had to later, she points out, no, I'm not trying to tell anybody else what to do. I'm just explaining my personal logic for this decision. Wow. Massive outrage over somebody explaining their own personal thought process behind a given decision. I wonder, would there be all of this outrage if, say, well, I think she did go and explain it. I'm assuming she did. I never bothered to look because this is filed under I figure it was just to get, more attention and, well, yeah. Miley Cyrus naked on a wrecking ball. We all remember this. And of course a lot of people wondered what in the world possessed her. The desire for the spotlight. We pretty much wrote that off because she's a public figure and we fully expect her to do this sort of thing. But God forbid that somebody sit there and say that maybe it's not such a great idea to do that. Maybe that isn't for everyone. And maybe it's time to have a conversation about why. Really, folks? Come on now. Now, Matt Walsh, he decided to weigh in on this over on The Blaze. I skimmed through it. I'm going to admit that I didn't read it deeply. Mostly because it's Matt Walsh. I'm sorry. I mean, I might go and pay attention to what he has to say when it's something that doesn't have to do with women. But it's Matt Walsh. Personally, and here is my take on it, I don't take him seriously whenever he's talking about anything to do with women. I really don't. Because usually it doesn't... He starts well, and then it sort of goes off on some other tangent, and I want to bang my head against something really, really hard. So that's why I only skimmed it, because I didn't want to hurt myself. I didn't want to have the desire to cause a concussion. Self-inflicted one. Yeah, that's bad. In case you're wondering, you know, the WWE people and the NFL people are all suing about that kind of thing. So, my personal rule is don't read Matt Walsh on women's issues, because you'll end up with head injuries, or at least the severe desire to inflict them on yourself. Anyway, Billy Hallowell also wrote on this, which means that it was a straight-up story. And he pointed out what I just did, that this woman made this decision for herself. Matt Walsh, on the other hand, actually, I think, was trying to agree with her and suggesting to women that they do the same thing that she's doing. Oh, really? Come on now. Yes, we need to have a meaningful conversation about modesty. No, I don't think that Matt Walsh is the right one to do it. But what really bothers me, and it might be because of, you know, the rise and fall of mommy bloggers, I did not hear, and granted I didn't research it all that much, but I did not hear about a massive following or massive group of the mommy blogger types coming to the aid of this woman. Didn't hear it. And the reason why I say the mommy bloggers, and I know a lot of people don't take them seriously, but that's an important group of individuals when it comes to issues like this. I did mention Miley Cyrus, and I was talking with my mother about Miley earlier today because she was on Good Morning America. And I honestly don't care why she was, it doesn't matter. I said that basically her father, Billy Ray, and I believe Dolly Parton is her godmother. I said, what happened to them? Really? What? I'm sorry that you let her become this. Where's the guidance, folks? Real? It's disgusting. I understand. You want to try to let them do what they're going to do. But it bothers me severely whenever you see people, and it's right up there with the 12-year-old in the video, flesh-colored bodysuit, etc. What goes through these mothers' heads? Really? And I miss the good old days. There was a time when liberal feminists, instead of prompting girls to engage in dangerous sexual activity, like in the wake of 50 Shades of Grey, instead of doing that, they were screaming to the rafters about the objectification of women. There was opposition to porn. There was opposition to stripping. There was opposition to all of these things, and obviously prostitution, because it was devaluing women, reducing them to the sum value of their sexual organs. I thought this was something they were opposed to. You know, I know, they fly back and forth. It's a pendulum swing. Because, you know, back in the day when the birth control pill came, sexual liberation. But then it swung back again to a more traditional, well, I can't even really say that. It was more of the idea of promoting the concept of self-worth beyond one's sexual value. But now we're back to the whole, wow, it's empowering to women if they have control of their sexuality, which is liberals speak for, if you want to act like a slut in public, we're going to back you up. Really? No, I'm sorry. Regardless of the logic behind what the woman said, the lustful looks and all of that, it's a matter of self-respect. It really is. I mean, yes, it might feel nice to have a guy look at you like, ooh, yeah. But if we're really honest with ourselves, it's a fleeting thing. It really is. It's a fleeting thing. What sticks with you more? I know what does for me. What sticks with me more is, instead of a guy looking at me like that, remembering when I went into a college business law class. It was finals night. And I was sick, very sick. As in, I had an extremely high fever, pushing 103. But it was finals night, and there was no way to go and make it up. So I took the test. Because of the way the test was structured, I not only aced it, I got 104%. With a fever of 103 and being generally groggy and really, really out of it. You know, we've all been sick like that. You know that you don't think straight when you have a really high fever. My professor was aware of the fact that I was sick, and he was very decent, although it was rather amusing. Apparently a couple times during the test it looked like I was going to nod off, or that I was at the very least looking more spacey than I did when I was speaking coherently with him. So he'd come over and tap me on the shoulder, but it was like he'd tap and then like take 3 steps back. Like, oh, I don't want to get the evil disease. Oh no, I touched her. It was amusing. I remember it vaguely, but yeah. And the reason why I was able to get the high score was because, you know, you have your standard questions, and at the end of the exam, there were multiple essay questions, but you only had to complete 2. Like, there were 4, you could get away with only completing 2. If you completed more, you had the opportunity to get more points. So obviously I completed all 4, because I figured I'm out of it. I'm going to try to get every point I possibly can. So that's what I'm proud of. That is something that has stuck with me, not some stupid catcall or come hither look from some man because of how I looked at one particular moment or another. I mean, sure, stuff has stuck with me for years, like going to the prom and having my prom date's cousin, yeah, everybody's all related around here, go and be the one to escort me, because we had the lower underclassmen escort the girls into the prom. Your date would not walk with you. And he went and looked down the front of my dress and said, "Nice view." and then his cousin smacked him in the back of the head. And we almost got thrown out of the prom until his cousin, his mother, was there as a chaperone, and she said, no, that's his cousin. He's allowed to hit him. In fact, I'm glad he did, because he shouldn't say stuff like that. So, yeah, that sticks with me, but that's more, it wasn't so much about the, sexy look, so that was more about the, oh, that was funny. So, yeah, it's not good. It really isn't. If you have bound up your entire existence as a woman to how you look, there's an emptiness there. There really is. Doubt that? How many times have we seen shows about behind the scenes with models where they'll go and lose it one way or another? Their emotional basket cases. The pressure to be perfect visually. And nobody gives a damn what's going on in your head. That's a horrible way to be. So that's why I'm upset that the mommy bloggers are not saying anything, because they're not saying, this woman is saying something that we really do need to think about. I mean, they've definitely gone out there many times complaining about retailers that have this horrible fetish about enabling little girls to dress like sex objects. Just making miniature versions of slutty clothing. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Target. There are a lot of other retailers that do the same thing. There are women who go crazy because they have daughters that don't want to dress like that, and they can't find clothing for them. Really? Is that what we're raising here? This woman is saying something that is meaningful. It is a personal decision. Yes, to be sure. But, yeah, the right messenger isn't Matt Walsh talking about women running around in their underwear. I'm not even sure what he meant by that. No. The right messenger should have been a lot of women, and from all ends of the political spectrum. Because I have a sneaking suspicion that there are some liberal women out there that aren't really enamored with the idea of having their daughters dress like Miley Cyrus. I'm just going to make a leap there. I think that they want to raise their daughters to realize that they are more than just their looks, looking sexy, acting sexy. And that's not a religious statement. That isn't a statement like, oh, I don't want men lusting after you because it's a sin. No. It's, I don't want men lusting after you because I don't want you to grow up thinking that all you are worth is an object to be lusted after by men. Yeah, remove the religious context, folks, for a minute. Think about that. And that goes not only for the little girls, it goes for the women. Are you worth more than someone who intentionally dresses to make men take that second glance? Not because of anything that you've said or done, but simply because they're pondering, oh, wouldn't that be a nice piece of ass? Are we better than that? I mean, there's a time and place for everything. We went through it over Halloween, sitting there saying, do we really need to sexualize all the Halloween costumes and turn childhood figures into sexy costumes? Really? Do we need to go there? Like, was it really necessary to make a sexy version of Buzz Lightyear? I'm sorry, but that's like really creepy to me. That is extremely creepy, and unfortunately, I saw it. It's filed under one of those things you can't unsee. And those of you who follow me on Facebook, if you caught the video that I posted last night that has been getting a massive amount of commentary, it's an interview with a porn star, and it's just, well, disgusting. Is that what we've become? Because, see, if I went and put up a post, I'm going to make a little guess here. If I put up a post talking about the concept of modesty, I'm going to make a leap here, and I'm going to guess I will get fewer responses than I did to that video. And there are a lot of conservative men that responded to that, by the way. Think about that, folks. Hypocrisy. You want to go and push it on the Democrats all the time, on the liberals. Hypocrisy. Just saying. Yeah, I'll admit there was a real reason why I posted that video. Anyway, it is about that time. It is Friday. That means the Right Mics will be on at 2 p.m. 10 p.m. tonight, the Conservative Feminist Show, and we will be having, I think, a couple guests because we have, well, another new show coming to the VLR family. You'll get to find out a little bit about that. But have a good afternoon, folks. Hopefully catch you this evening. And have a good weekend.